Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. This will be the last one of the week before the live stream Sunday morning. And this one, I'll be going over the remaining 8 games for week 3, going over every single player that I think is fantasy relevant, and really just doing what I can to help you get your lineup set. Of course, stay tuned. Make sure you guys check into that Sunday morning live stream, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, so 1 hour before the games go live. I'll go live and just go over last-minute injury updates, get you guys all settled, answer your start-sit questions and all that. So, hope to see you there. Other than that, this one should be a lot of fun. If you guys do have any specific start-sit questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to just respond to you there and give you guys any help I can give them. So yeah, looking forward to this. A lot of fun football here. We had a good Thursday night football game just yesterday. Not really a good game. It was good to see Aaron Rodgers play at a high level, but obviously it wasn't exactly the most competitive game. But it's still football. Got football yesterday, and yeah, got a lot of fun games coming up this weekend. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting things off with the Dolphins at the Seahawks. I think on the Dolphins side of the ball, Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane are really the only players that I want to start here. Jalen Waddle, he's a flex play for me, but it's just going to be really tough for Skylar Thompson to support multiple options here. We know that Tyreek and Achane are going to be the two they're going to manufacture touches for. We saw Achane still put up a lot of fantasy points last week with Skylar Thompson in the game, so I think Achane is still a really safe play. Sounds like Bostert's not going to be active for this one. Tyreek, we know what he can do. He can take a screen pass to the house and he can play. So good Waddle, but they're just not going to manufacture touches for him the way they do with Tyreek Hill. So I don't really want to play Tyreek Waddle if I can avoid it. If you're really desperate at tight end, I think you can stream Jonnu Smith. We just saw the Seahawks give up over 100 yards to Hunter Henry last weekend. Jonnu Smith's a talented player, can do a lot with the ball in his hands after the catch. We saw him be a little bit involved last week as well. He's actually the tight end 12 on the season and hasn't scored a touchdown. So you could do worse than Jonnu if you want to stream him this week. For the Seahawks, Zach Charbonnet, DK Metcalf, JSN, they're all going to be in your lineups. I say Charbonnet because it sounds like Kenneth Walker's going to be inactive again this week. Charbonnet hasn't looked good, but he's going to catch passes. Got a good shot to score any given week here. He's a workhorse running back in this offense right now. So you can certainly play Charbonnet and then DK and JSN. DK like a high-end wide receiver 2 for me. JSN a really strong flex play, but keep an eye on JSN. If he does it again this week, I think we'll know for sure that he's arrived here. I would sit Lockett in this one. The Seahawks should win this game pretty easily. I don't think they'll need to throw the ball quite as much as they did last week, so I don't think we're going to see enough volume to justify playing Tyler Lockett. And then Geno Smith, decent streaming option here. Again, I don't think they can run the ball very effectively without Kenneth Walker, so they should have to throw the ball at least until they get a solid lead. Geno Smith looked really great so far this season, so you can stream Geno if you're looking desperate at the quarterback spot. Next, we got a bit of a dud of a game here with the Panthers going to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. For the Panthers, I don't really want to start any of them. They did announce that Andy Dalton will be starting this game, so if you need to, I think you can maybe play Deontay Johnson. I'm in a league where my receivers are not very good. We have 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots. I'm probably going to play Deontay. It's torn between Deontay Johnson and Christian Kirk there. I'll probably play Deontay in that one, but don't love that. And then Chuba, low-end option as well. He's not necessarily the workhorse running back we wanted him to be without Jonathan Brooks, so not a good game environment here either. You can play him. He's getting like 15-ish touches, so you can, but I just don't want him to go there if I can avoid it. For the Raiders, Zamir White, a low-end running back 2 option. We've seen the Panthers get absolutely carved up on the ground so far, so really good matchup for Zamir White. If you're not going to play him in this one, I don't know when you would. So I think Zamir White's a decent option just because he's probably going to score in this game. And then for the Raiders, Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers as well. They need to be started. They're elite players. They look like they're the focal points of the offense. And then beyond them, like Jacoby Myers, I don't want anything to do with him. You're not starting Gardner Minshew. It's Devontae Adams and Bowers and nobody else for the pass catchers there. Next, we got the 49ers visiting the Rams here, and talk about an injury-filled game. We're going to have this game here without Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, or George Kittle on the Niners side of the ball, and the Rams will be without Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and like their entire offensive line. So a lot of just attrition here. It's going to be really tough to see who comes out of this game healthy, but for the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, decent starting options here. They should have a really condensed target tree here just because there's nobody else really to take targets there. So I think you're playing both of those guys this week. Obviously, I prefer Ayuk to Jennings, but Jennings has looked good so far. Ayuk hasn't necessarily so far this season, so I think you can play both of them. On top of that, for the Niners, Jordan Mason, he's a lineup lock. He's a top 10 running back until Christian McCaffrey comes back. You're playing him every single week, and this is a really great matchup against the Rams. I'd sit Purdy, though. I don't think the Niners will have a really tough time winning this game. I think they'll just lean on the running game. I don't expect Purdy to really be very good without all those weapons. He hasn't really been at any point in his career without those weapons, so don't want to trust Purdy in this matchup. For the Rams, I think Kyron is really the only must start here. Obviously, tough matchup. Just a tough situation for the Rams in general, but Kyren is their best offensive player left. They will look to involve him. It's just a matter of, it's tough to be very efficient against that defensive line without an offensive line playing in front of you. So he's a volume player, hoping he scores, hoping he catches a couple passes, but I wouldn't expect like a top 5 game out of Kyren this week. For the pass catchers, Demarcus Robinson, he's the wide receiver I'd want to play if I had to play one of them, but I really don't love it. Tyler Johnson, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Colby Parkinson, they're all going to factor in as well here. It'll be interesting to see what the Rams just try and do in this one. I think Tutu Atwell is a bit of a sneaky play. I think they'll try and manufacture some touches for him. Jordan Whittington looked really good in preseason. We'll see what happens with him. So I would sort of want to take that wait and see approach if I can here with the Rams, but I think Demarcus Robinson would be the one that I would play if I had to play a Ram wide receiver this week. Next, we've got the Lions at the Cardinals. This one should be a really fun game here. For the Lions, you're starting everybody. This game's going to be a shootout here. We've got an over 50-point over-under here. Lots of scoring is going to happen in this one. So you're playing Monty, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Jameson, and Sam Laporta. All 5 of those guys are in your lineup. I think you can stream Jared Goff as well. I know it's been rough so far to start the season, but we've got a track record here with Jared Goff. It's an indoor game in a high-scoring environment. I'm playing Jared Goff if I have him. Kyler must start as well for the Cardinals. Put together maybe the best game of his career last week. He looked absolutely fantastic. You're playing Kyler Murray this week. James Conner, he's an RB2 for me. Really tough matchup against the Lions. They are a elite run defense here. It's going to be really tough for teams in general to run on them this season. So we'll see what happens there, but I still think James Conner's involved enough. Has looked so good. There's no way I'm benching James Conner. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, they're must-starts as well. There's no way you're looking anywhere else for those guys. And then I do kind of think Greg Dortch is going to have a good game in this one. The Lions have been really susceptible to slot receivers so far this season. We saw Cooper Kupp, and then we also saw Chris Godwin last weekend just really put up really big numbers against this team, and Greg Dortch is the slot receiver for the Cardinals. I think there's a bit of a trend there. The Lions can get beat there. I think Dortch maybe puts up a good game, but I don't necessarily want to play him as anything more than like a low-end flex play. Next, we've got another really fun game here between the Ravens and the Cowboys. The Ravens looking to avoid going 0-3, so that's a really important game for the Ravens here. They're certainly going to do everything they can to win this one. Lamar, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. I think they all need to be in lineups here. The defense of the Cowboys doesn't really scare me. I know what they have historically been really great, but which we saw the Saints doing last weekend. They didn't necessarily what they did in week 1 is great and all, but they did it against Deshaun Watson, so I'm not going to put too much stock in that. This Cowboys defense might be beatable. We saw Zay Flowers be elite last weekend. Andrews, the tight end position, such a dumpster fire. You're playing him. And then the Cowboys have been susceptible to the run so far, so Derrick Henry is a great play this week. Nobody else to really consider, though. You're not playing Rashad Bateman. You're not going to play Justice Hill in this one. It's going to be those 4 guys and nobody else, and it's probably going to be that way every single week. For the Cowboys, Dak, he's a low-end QB1 here. I know it hasn't really been the greatest start for him just because it's been a really wacky game environment so far for the Cowboys. The Ravens did just give it up to Gardner Minshew last weekend, so I think Dak is going to be someone that can put up a decent stat line this week. I would sit all of the running backs in Dallas. It's just they seem to not know what they want to do with that backfield spot. We had Dowdle with 7 carries, Zeke with 6 last week. That's just not going to get it done. I don't want to trust any of those guys until we see some more clarity there. CeeDee Lamb, he's a must-start every single week. He's probably the wide receiver 1 in fantasy going forward, so you're playing him. Jake Ferguson, a low-end tight end option here. He should be coming back from the injury. We just saw the Ravens get carved up a little bit by Brock Bowers. Obviously, a little bit different caliber players there, but I think you can play Jake Ferguson. And then let's just keep an eye on Jalen Tolbert and Brandon Cooks. I want to see how that target share just sort of carries out over the course of the next few weeks because Jalen Tolbert had 9 targets last week. I don't want to completely ignore that because he was someone that we were a little bit excited about coming into the league. And if he gets enough involvement here, he could emerge as the number 2 wide receiver in Dallas, and there could be a little bit of value there going forward. Next, we've got another pretty fun one here between the Chiefs and the Falcons. I think for the Chiefs side of the ball, I do think Rashee Rice is really the only lineup lock here. Mahomes, he's going to be a low-end quarterback 1. This is not a very bad Falcons defense. They've certainly kept the opposing quarterbacks in check so far. And then Mahomes hasn't really been good for fantasy for a bit over a season now. He just lost Isaiah Pacheco. I know that means they'll probably go a little bit more pass-heavy, but they don't necessarily have elite weapons here. Travis Kelce's looked like a shell of himself so far this season. Xavier Worthy, he's a nice explosive player, but he's not going to be a consistent, reliable possession receiver for him. So it really is Rashee Rice is the only reliable weapon out there for Mahomes. Good defense against the Falcons. You can play Mahomes here, but again, if you have Jared Goff, I would play Jared Goff over Mahomes. I know that sounds crazy, but I really would do that. Xavier Worthy, a low-end flex play. You're hoping for that big play touchdown. It could happen, but it also could not, and it's tough to know there. Carson Steele and Samaje Perine, both desperation plays at the running back position for me. I'd prefer to sit both of them if I can, but I know that a lot of you guys probably spend a decent amount of fab just to get Carson Steele onto your roster. Sitting with Samaje Perine, if you need to play them, you certainly can. You're hoping P. Ryan catches 5 passes. You're hoping Carson Steele falls in the end zone. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm excited to see how that running back room plays out. I did add Steele in a couple places, even though I didn't need him. I want to see what happens with him going forward, just because I don't know how that backfield's going to play out, but it's just tough to trust and not a necessarily great matchup against Atlanta. For the Falcons, Bijan Robinson, he's the only must start for Atlanta here. He's obviously extremely involved, has been elite so far without even scoring touchdowns. I think he's definitely going to be a lineup lock going forward. Drake London, you're probably starting him for sure. Obviously, it was great to see him get in the end zone last week, but it was at the end of the game. And then 2 weeks in a row, Kansas City's eliminated the number one passing option for the opponent. We saw Mark Andrews get absolutely shut down in week 1, and then Jamar Chase get locked up in week 2. They're going to look to shut down Drake London here. If they do that, I think we could see a lot of Ray McLeod, Darnell Mooney a little bit. It's tough there. I think you're probably playing Drake London, but I do think it's a bit of a sell high opportunity for him, and this could be a rough week here for London. Kyle Pitts, he's a low-end tight end play. You probably are playing him just because the tight end position is so busted, but I don't love it, so I wouldn't expect a big game, but obviously you drafted him in a spot where you probably need to play him. There's not a lot of better options out there, so you're playing Kyle Pitts. Just don't expect a lot here. Next up, we've got the first Monday night game here. We've got 2 Monday night football games this week, so that's a little bit exciting. I don't like how they really offset it by like 45 minutes, because then you can't watch both at the same time unless you've got like 2 monitors or something if you want to watch it on your computer. But regardless, we get 2 games on Monday here. For the Jaguars at the Bills here. For the Jaguars, I think Travis Etienne's really the only guy that I want to start. He's obviously he's a talented running back, getting most of the volume on this team. We saw Tank Bigsby get banged up last week. Sounds like he's going to be okay here, but I expected a little bit more volume for Etienne in this game. Nobody else really for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has looked absolutely awful. Christian Kirk's been uninvolved. Evan Ingram's banged up, not going to play in this one in all likelihood. That means you're looking at Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis as the really only pass catchers in this offense, assuming Christian Kirk continues to be uninvolved. Brian Thomas Jr., he's looked great, but the volume's just not there. You're hoping for a big play touchdown, and that certainly could happen, but it's a little scary, so I don't really want to play him. The Bills' defense is legit. We've seen them lock up some pass catchers so far this season. For the Bills, James Cook, Josh Allen, they're must-starts, as is Dalton Kincaid in all likelihood. The tight end position is so just awful that I can't imagine you're benching Dalton Kincaid. I don't want to play any pass catchers other than that, though, for the Bills. I think if you have to play a receiver, I would lean Khalil Shakir. The Jaguars do play a lot of man, though. That could be indicative that Keon Coleman has a good game, but it's just tough to trust Coleman after a donut last week. Shakir, it does seem to be their most reliable wide receiver in terms of like a safe floor. He's an explosive player. There's a bit of a ceiling there, but I think the Bills win this game pretty easily. I think it's just going to be Allen, Cook, and Kincaid, and then just Etienne in this game. And the last game of the week here, we've got the Commanders at the Bengals. This better be a get-right game for Cincinnati because the Commanders have one of, if not the worst defenses in the NFL. So you're really expecting this Cincinnati offense to bounce back and really start putting up some high-end numbers this week. For the Commanders, Brian Robinson, Jaden Daniels, they're really solid starts here. Brian Robinson's looked great so far this season. Jaden Daniels just offers such a high rushing floor. I can't imagine really benching him. He's probably a top 10 quarterback every single week going forward. Austin Eckler, he's a low-end running back play this week as well. He's looked really good so far this season. Brian Robinson is the clear RB1 in this backfield, but they're throwing the ball to Eckler enough that you could play him as like a desperation PPR play. I'd play him over like Carson Steele if that's like the situation you're in. So Eckler, not a horrible play, but obviously I don't love it. For the pass catchers in Washington, I don't want to play any of them. Terry McLaurin's not involved enough. You're not going to go towards Luke McCaffrey or De'Ami Brown or any of that. If you need to play a Washington pass catcher, it would be Zach Ertz, actually, and that's just because the tight end position is so brutal. Zach Ertz has been involved enough. It's kind of weird. I know saying play Zach Ertz in 2024, but if you need to, Zach Ertz is a decent streaming option at the tight end spot. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, there's smash plays here. If you can't play them this week, you're never going to play them, so you're absolutely playing both those guys. I'm expecting a big game from both of them. Zach Moss, also a locked-in starter. This is, again, a really bad Commanders defense. Zach Moss is the clear Bengals starting running back. I bet he finds the end zone this week. If T. Higgins plays, I really do want to play him. This is a really great matchup. There's a ton of upside there for T. Higgins. But it's tough with this being the last game of the week. He's still banged up with the injury. We won't have a clear update. So you better have a pivot if you want to play them. If, say, you've got Zach Moss and Higgins, although I might just play Zach Moss over Higgins anyway, so maybe you got Yoshi Voss or something. It's like a pivot option if you need it. You could go there. So if you have a comparable option, I would just go with them over Higgins. But if Higgins is like a big difference maker for you in your roster, if you're starting scrubs you picked up off waivers because you need to fill a roster spot, Higgins is a much better play than that. We know there's a ton of ceiling there. So if you want to wait out and see what happens with Yoshi Voss versus Higgins, I think Higgins is a really solid play if you can manage to suit up here. So that'll do it for the week 3 starts and sits. Up next, I will go over the live stream Sunday morning. I will go over all of the last minute injury updates to help get you guys set with your lineups, answer start sit questions. So make sure you hop into that 1 hour before the games kick off. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. So looking forward to seeing you guys in that one. Of course, if you guys do have any specific questions before then, just let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to help you guys get your lineup set this week. Other than that, if you have made it this far in the video, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And then, of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, there's going to be 4 to 5 videos every single week along with the live stream. I'll be here all season long to help you guys win your league. So if you just want to make sure you keep getting access to that content, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell. That way you guys see when videos come out. It helps me out, helps you out as well, so you don't miss any future content. And just would love to have you as part of the group here. So yeah, appreciate all you guys, and I'll catch you on Sunday morning. Good luck this week. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.